Hello, this is Folayan. As the year comes to an end, we're taking a short Christmas and New Year break. I want to thank you for listening, for sharing, and supporting Minding Your Business Africa. Because of you, we've crossed 5,000 streams, and that means more than I can put into words. I am so grateful for the community you're helping us build and for every conversation you've shown up for this year. So here's wishing you a restful holiday season and a new year filled with clarity, growth, and good things. Happy holidays.
Africa's biggest conversation about the future of radio is happening in Lagos.
Here we go.
On Saturday, February 28th, 2026, at the Lagos Continental Hotel, the Radio Masterclass will host broadcasters, podcasters, journalists, creators, and media innovators from across the continent for Radio Next 2026. This year's theme, From FM to AI, Future-Proofing Radio Journalism in Africa, explores how technology, creativity, and storytelling are reshaping the way we speak, listen, and connect. Expect powerful keynote sessions, practical workshops, expert panels, fireside chats, and networking with the brightest minds shaping African audio. Whether you're an established professional or an emerging voice, Radio Next is where the next chapter of your journey begins. The conference kicks off at 8 a.m. sharp, so come early, learn, connect, and be inspired. Tickets and registration are now open at www.radionextafrica.com. Radio Next 2026, shaping the sound of Africa's future.
This is Minding Your Business Africa.
When people see So Fresh today, it feels obvious. Fresh salads, smoothies made in front of you, a brand Nigerians trust. But when you listen closely to how it all started, you realize it was anything but obvious. This business didn't begin as a salad brand. It started with a simple idea. What if buying fruits and vegetables didn't have to mean open markets and stress? What if fresh food could exist in a clean, organized space? In this episode, I'm in conversation with Olagoke Balogun, the co-founder and CEO of SoFresh Nigeria. We talk about building a food business Nigerians did not yet know they wanted, about years of slow growth, mistakes, lessons, and staying consistent in an environment that makes consistency hard. Goke shares how listening to customers shaped the business and how discipline, systems, and financial accountability helped SoFresh survive long before it started to scale. This is a conversation about patience, iteration, and what it really means to build a business that lasts in Nigeria. My name is Folayan, and this is Minding Your Business Africa. What was the moment that convinced you this could actually work? I mean, I read one of your threads where you talked about being on the mainland and then you attended this event, on the island at a school and sold out, and you decided, whoa, this is the time to change location. I mean, I'm going to get to that, but I really want to know at what point you saw that, wow, this idea of fresh salads and smoothies and stuff is something Nigerians would buy into at that time.
So I'll say it was a series of events. It wasn't just one event.
Okay.
And it was purely customer-led, customer-driven. So if we track back quickly to the beginning, we did not actually set out to retail salads or juices or smoothies. The idea was to change the way Nigerians shopped for fruits, vegetables, and fresh natural food produce. So we started out the store just selling fruits, vegetables, even things like yam, plantain. Because the idea was, instead of us going to shop in the open market, let's bring the market into a very serene, organized environment. Like a supermarket. It was 15 years ago. It didn't exist. You didn't have ShopRite then. You didn't have all these big supermarkets that you had fresh vegetable sections like you have today. So for us, it was going to be a change from what we have. But then when we started, very quickly, in less than 1 month, we started to see a pattern from customers. So the customers that would come in, yes, they will buy a few apples, oranges, but most of them will say, can I get a juice? Can I get a smoothie? I want you to cut the fruits up for me. So we're attracting a lot of busy, professionals, and that was what they wanted. They didn't want to buy these things, take it home to prepare it. So we kept getting the request, and said, looks like there is something here. So let's give it a try. So that's how we got into the juice and smoothie making business. And so we started doing juices and smoothies, and that became the center of attraction for customers. If you want to find a place where you could get fresh juice made right in front of you. Again, it looks like it's not a big deal, but back in 2010, there was nothing like it.
Yeah, people thought it was luxury, like it wasn't mainstream at all.
It wasn't even any stream, not stock of mainstream. Maybe at most you get it in high-end hotels and maybe restaurants.
Yeah.
So we started doing juices and smoothies, and so okay, why not try salads? Nigerians didn't even really eat salad back then. At most, what you got was coleslaw by the side of your jollof rice, right? At parties. And we like salad. Let's add salad. This is just, we already have vegetables in the store. Let's try it out. So we started selling salads, and we found out that, gradually we were attracting customers that liked it, that wanted it, that had been craving for it, and it was just something different from what you have everywhere. And really, that was the start. But it wasn't a very smooth start, because when we started, even though we were getting customers, but not at the volume of what would make the business sustainable. So we kept pushing. The business didn't really pick up, that much in the first 3 years. In fact, at a point, we added many things. We sold oil, we sold, cereal. So we were adding a lot of things to the store just to move the volumes. But then I would say around the 3 year mark, something else happened. We decided to change location. We started in Ogba on the mainland, a very small store. And it looked like we didn't have the critical mass of our customers, at least back then. It's very different now. Back then, not so many people around that area were really interested in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we decided to give it one more shot. We moved to Ikoyi. And then when we opened up our store in Ikoyi, we did it differently. We now focused the business on the meal part of it. Yes, we still sold fresh fruits, vegetables, all of that. But we had a very big open kitchen where you could come in and, have your juices or smoothies or salads. And that was when we even changed the business name to SoFresh. It used to be called Fruity Veggies. We just combine fruit and vegetables together. So the business used to be called Fruity Veggies. We'll move to Ikoyi, we changed the name to SoFresh. And then in about 3 months, the business just went boom. Obviously, we were right where the kind of customers we wanted to attract, people who appreciate what we're doing. It was more visible. We were right in the middle of Ikoyi, next to VI, where we had the, professional working class, all of that. And so it was at that point that we knew that, yes, we had, hit on, something exciting, and then we just doubled down from then on.
It's just incredible listening to this story, because I think every business person can relate how sometimes you start a business, you have this amazing idea, you keep iterating and iterating, but it feels like you're not hitting it. And then something happens and that just changes the entire trajectory of the business. And for listening to you, this is moving to Ikoyi, where you were right where your kind of customers are. The people who can afford it, people who would appreciate it, people who would want it. Now, the healthy food space, like you said, didn't exist in Nigeria at the time that you launched. And it took a while before I think it became mainstream, or maybe more people could afford it. I don't know. But a lot of, business people, from my experience, personally, struggle with consistency. in those years that you were building and just trying all sorts of things, how did you maintain consistency? I assume it couldn't have been easy, especially the kind of business that you do that requires very fresh produce and they need to stay fresh. So all those times that NEPA will give you problems, that you're going to have electricity payment issues, all sorts of infrastructure issues. Points, how did you remain consistent and not give up? Like, what, this is too much struggle, let me just leave it and move to something easier.
Good question. Absolutely, it didn't come, very easy at all. Again, there was really nothing like it. I have not done it, my wife, whom I run the business with from day one, we have not done it. We didn't have a lot of examples around building a business around fresh fruits, vegetables, no preservation, and so we had to learn through a lot of the challenges, starting with infrastructure, power, keeping the fruits fresh, reducing or minimizing wastage, spoilage. Even learning about fruits. For example, there are fruits you don't combine in storage because when you combine them, the particular one gives off, a certain chemical that,
That can affect
increases
the
the
other one.
spoilage of the other one. So we had to learn all of that. So it was a learning journey, understanding the science behind the business itself, finding the most, economical way to store, preserve, and maintain, freshness. Because one of the things we committed to was that we're not going to do like frozen stuff. In the early days, people that are coming to the business, because they saw how challenging it was, they would freeze all their products, and when
Ah.
we made an order, we were going to do a smoothie. We don't freeze. When you come into the store, you see when we cut our pineapples, our watermelon, our banana, and all of that, blended it in front of you, and added ice if you needed it to be cold. So yes, it was a hard one, but we just had to learn. Made a lot of mistakes. In fact, some of the unique, interesting recipes we have today were from pain because sometimes you just get back to the store and you saw, oh, this particular fruit has gone bad. They'll
Ooh.
say, why don't we create something with this? I remember that was how we created our sour sop smoothie, which became a real winner. It wasn't a fruit we even found around, but we started selling sour sop as all fruits. We didn't think it was going to go into smoothies because it had seeds in the middle of it. But then we kept recording spoilage. I said, okay, instead of us to stop selling this thing, let's convert it into a product.
Yeah.
So we converted that into a product and it became a good. It was just a lot of trying this, trying that, asking how can we do this better and all of that. And also, doing a lot of research, online, asking questions and just getting better and better at what we were doing.
I mean, I like the idea of, learning from some of the errors, learning from some of the pain. And I think it's inspiring that you went into a business or a lane that not a lot of people were, especially at that time. And you didn't mind being in the forefront. What was it like getting investments into the business? Did you have to put in a lot of your own personal finance? Did you have to convince investors that this could work? If you had to convince investors, what did you say to them? How did you make them see the vision?
Okay. So when we started the business, right, we
Yeah.
didn't have, we're not even thinking about investors, to be honest. It was just something we were also starting. So we started off with, our personal family savings. And then, that was what, both of us had very decent jobs. So we
Okay.
could pull out some money over a period of few years and, start a business. But then, like I told you, first 3 years very difficult. And so at the third year mark, when we're going to move to Ikoyi and expand the services of the business, we have to invest even more of our own money and rely on just a few family to support,
Yeah.
some loan. I remember going back to, there's this cooperative I used to do when I was, the last place I worked. So, took a cooperative loan, packed all the family savings. and used it to invest and build Ikoyi. But what
Wow.
happened was, once we did that, it was important that, of course, it was our money. We were
You
very,
had
very
to make it
financially
work.
disciplined. Yeah, it had to work. It was like mortgaging the whole, family, at least as back then, family future into this business. And so we
Mm,
put in a lot of work, but most importantly, we were very, very big on financial discipline, financial accountability. Even though it was our money, we kept record, we kept accounts. We had every record of every outflow and inflow. We had our account statements. We did audited reports right from the 18 months after we started. So we had all those records. And by the time the business was ripe for investment, it became very easy for somebody to come into the business, look
mm.
at what we have done over the first 7 years. So the first time we got investments, the business was at the 7 year mark, or was there
What?
at sorry, 8 year
Seven
mark.
years?
Actually, 8 years. So we started discussing with the investor 7th year, and then the money came in 8 years. It was easy for them to invest because we had proven the concept. We were at two locations. The two
Mm.
locations were doing well, they were profitable, we were growing, and they saw clear signs that there was a market, the business case was very clear, it was a growing business, the financials were in place, and it was easy for them to make that decision to, put in money into the business.
Wow. I need you to talk a little bit about, this financial accountability because I think that, for a lot of people, when they start businesses like this, I mean, when you started, it was like a side business. You had your jobs, you and your wife, and then you started this thing on the side. But you were able to maintain, how did you maintain this accountability? Because sometimes it feels like it's a little hard, especially when you're bringing in your own personal money. I've heard cases of people mixing up personal finance into business finance. At some point, the lines are blurred. At some point, you can't even like track where this money went, how that one came in and where it went, and things like that. So, what systems did you have in place to keep yourself so disciplined to a point where in 7 years, an investor could come in and say, hey, this track record works, I will invest? What did you do? How did you do it?
And I mean, so the truth is that to get an investment is a mix of many things. Finances play a huge part, especially for a traditional business that has existed for a while. So it's
Mm,
important to keep records of everything that comes in and goes out of your business, your sales, your inventory, your asset purchase, expenses, raw material,
mm,
every single thing, no matter how small. If you take a bike for 1,000 naira, for 500 to buy something, make sure you document it.
yeah.
So the first step is documentation. Once you've documented all your, financial transactions, you want to bring in an accountant, whether it's in-house or external, to look at your accounts and make sense of it. Make sense of it in terms of preparing your financial statements, your profit and loss account, your balance sheet, your cash flow. Those three things are the minimum. Of course, there are other things like having asset shared. So basically, getting an accountant who knows what they're doing to help you prepare periodic accounts.
Mm,
Best standard is say monthly. Maybe for a new small business, quarterly may be fine. At the end of the year, do your final yearly financial results and get an
mm.
auditor to do an audit, and you keep those records over time. Those are one of the
Okay.
things the investors want to look at to say how has this business performed over time. So that's
Mm,
just like more financial records. Other records like your sales record, um, sales record, not just the money, but everything. How many customers come into your business a day? What did they buy? What are your
mm,
highest selling products? What time of day did they buy? All of that will help the investor form an opinion about the viability of the business. So all the numbers within the business, even your inventory, how many times do you restock your inventory? What is the stock you have at hand per time? Do you want to
mm.
take stock count every month, every quarter and all of that? So all the numbers are important for your business. You really want to get it, documented over time, not only for investors, but for you as well. It helps you to make sense of your business when you go back and look at those numbers. You can see, the patterns. Either you're looking at your inventory, we buy this thing often, does this thing get bad on time, and all of that. It will give you pointers as to where you can improve, what you need to double down on, what you need to stop. So it's also more for, internal use and also for external use. I mean, and beyond the finances, it's also, you really understanding what drives your business. So what are your main business drivers? Where are your customers? Who are your customers? Why are they buying from you? What is the growth potential for this business? So if you say today I'm making 500 million naira, how can you go from 500 million to, let's say, 5 billion? What is the pathway to that? Are you opening more branches? Are you doubling down online? This means that you really, really understand your market, you understand your customers. And so, a combination of, really understanding your business and very sound, financial discipline and accountability will help the investor see a more holistic picture for your business.
Wow, this is like a master class. Seriously, I feel like you should be charging for this. I want to talk about scaling, systems, leadership, the whole thing. What did you have to learn quickly about leadership? I mean, you mentioned expanding into multiple outlets now. What were the lessons you learned? How did you know that it was time to expand? And because sometimes I've heard stories where people say, oh yeah, we need to be in different locations, and then they expand and the other location now isn't doing as well as they thought it would do. I even see it in media businesses when people have like a thriving radio station. They're like, okay, we need to be in 2 cities. We need to go to Abuja. We need to go to Benin. And then you open all these extensions. And at the end of the day, the money that is coming from the headquarters is what is now keeping the extensions afloat. That doesn't make any sense to me. So how did you know that it was time to expand? And what are the leadership lessons that you learned?
Okay, I mean, so in order to expand, again, it was more market driven.
Okay.
So if I can just trace the trajectory quickly, we started in Ogba. Business wasn't really great. Then we looked at all the data we had and we thought, okay, if we move to Ikoyi, it was going to be better. So we moved to Ikoyi. And in about 1 year, when we moved to Ikoyi, business was very good. And we started getting requests from places like, Ikeja, Bagada. So we actually started doing delivery from those locations, from Ikoyi to those locations. And of course, it wasn't sustainable. It was expensive. It was, it took a lot of time to make the delivery. It was not efficient. But when we looked at the numbers over time, said, oh, we are making this amount of delivery from this location. Maybe it's now time to go back to the mainland. So that was why when we looked at, what we had done, so we went back to the mainland. So I'll say, and a lot of our expansion was market driven. When we saw the market was right, we saw, people would tell us then, oh, I'm from Yaba, I drove down to a Ikeja store. I'm from this place, I drove down to a Ikoyi store. Then it told us clearly that the market had grown, the market had caught on, and it was just for us now to map where are we going to find the bulk of our target audience. And so we was looking at our sales number, performance numbers, and seeing that people really wanted this, and that was what drove the expansion for us. But not just that, it was also that we had built capacity in-house. Capacity in-house will mean that we had a system that worked. So we had our processes standardized, with our quality system standardized, we had our recruitment standardized. We knew exactly what it takes to open and run a store every day, for a whole year. So systems, and then the people, the quality of the people as well, and the skill set and competence level of the people we had. We also looked at that, before we grow and expand. And maybe that will bring me to the, leadership question. So I've learned so many leadership, things about leadership, running business. I think the first lesson for me about leadership is you really have to know yourself. Know yourself in terms of know what your strengths are, know
Okay.
what your style is, also know what your weakness is, because it's important to know all of this things because it helps you be a much better leader and it helps you to be aware of your blind spots. Because you know what you are good at, you know what you are not good at, you know what you generally like in terms of outlook and all of that. So I think that's the first lesson that you understand to know yourself as a leader. The second lesson is also that at the end of the day, people have dreams, people have aspirations. So when they come to work for your business, they have a dream. And one of the ways you're going to be able to get people to be committed to your business is to give them a reason to be committed. So, as you're thinking about the business growth, you're also thinking that what is in it for these people? Why should they commit themselves, their expertise, their skills, their time to me? If you help people find meaning, find growth in your business, you are likely going to get their buy-in for a long time. And we call that loyalty. But loyalty is not just giving, it's not just going to give them salaries because they also see that if I stay here 2, 3 years, I have a future, I can build a career, I can start to make sense on meaning of my life. I think that's another lesson I've learned. And maybe the third thing I'd like to say is that as a leader, I think for me is more facilitating people to make great decisions. It's not having all the answers, having all the solutions. In fact, if you always have all the answers and solutions, you will not get their buy-in 100%. They will do work because we're paying them, but they're not
Yeah.
going to do it from a place of this is our own.
Because
So
they feel like you're always going to come in and do your own thing anyway.
it's just about you. So when you're leading people, it cannot just be about you alone. You have to get them involved in the business, bring them up to speed, let them contribute, listen, ask questions. And the truth is, when you listen to people and you take in, feedback, comments, ideas from different people, at the end of the day, your decisions or your solutions are better, they are richer. And I
That's
think
true.
these are some of the things I've learned around leadership.
Wow, those are very key lessons, honestly, especially when it comes to, letting your staff feel like they're part of the business, like buy into it and key into the vision. Because a lot of times people just, get a job and there's no sense of ownership. And I think it's painful as a business owner, as a leader, if you have people working with you and you kind of know that they don't have that sense of ownership. There's something you tweeted, and I found it quite interesting. I think it was about 2 days ago when you said that you were talking about systems, and you said one big lesson success in business has taught me is that while hustle can start a business, it can't scale it. And I wanted to ask you what you meant by that because all I've heard is hustle, hustle hard. Like your hustle is what keeps your business afloat. If you don't have hustle, your business is going to sink. So when you say that hustle can start it, but it can't scale it, do you drop that sense of hustle when your business is finally established? Is that what you meant?
Yes. So I mean, so the truth is that every business will start like an also, sometimes it's even accidental. Many people start business accidental, they didn't plan it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's planned. But that will get the business up. In fact, that can drive it to very great heights. I mean, there are people that hustle and they're doing billions, they don't have any structure, any system. But for every business, no matter the type of business, you will always hit a wall at some point in time. Because for you to grow, expand, and sustain the business, it needs to be structured and systemized so that it is not everything does not revolve around you and dependent on you. So basically that's it. So there's nothing wrong or bad starting, like an hustle or just going hard, going hard. That is the way it starts anyway, because at that start, you are the one that you are the driving force for everything. A lot of people that won't come to work for you at the beginning won't even believe in the dream. they won't even believe that this thing will last. That's the reality of most people that work for, like, unstructured one-man business. At the back of their mind, they are thinking one day this guy might even jump out to Canada. So you would always a lot in the beginning would depend on your drive. But as you grow in the business, you have to convert that drive into a system that can now start to operate, outside of you or alongside with you.
Word. I mean, what's a mistake that humbled you, that forced you to, take a second look at yourself as a leader and as a business? Did you ever have one like that?
Oh, I mean, surely, surely. I mean, I'll say quite a lot. Let me just see the one that come to mind right now.
Okay.
Um, I think one of it is, I mean, um, so we made some bets on some investment. When I mean investment, like, new locations, new outlets,
Yeah. Okay.
that didn't pay off. And
Mm.
of course, not only that didn't pay off, but it costed the business significantly. It took time to recover. And those times, I was actually questioning my capacity to continue to, lead this business. And, because it was such a tough time recovering from, those investments that, that didn't yield the results as expected. But, the truth is that that's actually a normal part of business. Not all your bets will work out. That's
Mm.
just the reality. If all your bets are working out, you're probably making small, small bets, not audacious enough.
Not
And
audacious enough. Yeah.
yeah, and that probably would not also make you reach your potential as a business. So I'll say, that's immediately what comes to mind right now. But yeah, it was also a point to it was also a point of learning for me. It was a new phase, because up until that time everything had worked in the business, all the locations had been hit back to back. And
Mm.
so sometimes you become maybe less rigorous, maybe even a bit and I don't know if arrogant is the word to use, but sometimes it just brings you back to base and allows you to think a bit more about the decisions you're making and
Yeah.
understanding that, especially when your business gets to a point, every decision can, be very positive or very negative. So it allows you to step back and think a bit more about the
Mm.
decisions you're making.
I think what it does is you get more introspective. You're not so much in a hurry. You get to think and look at all the sides before you decide finally.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
yeah. That's interesting. I mean, you've been in business for over a decade now. Let's talk about, people, partnerships, just having a community around your business. Because I've read articles where it is suggested that when you're able to build a community around your business, it's like they said is the key to keeping your business afloat. I don't know if that has been true for you. Do you feel like you've built a community around SoFresh? And if you have, how did you do it?
Um, that's a very interesting question. So my first response was that yes, that is true. When you build a community around your products, and for me, when people say community, it does not necessarily mean that there is a physical or virtual place where you gather people, you talk to them.
Yeah.
That also works. Some businesses lend themselves to having like a virtual space where they have their customers or audience and they're able to relate and talk with them.
Mm,
Some is just how you've positioned, how you've messaged your business, and how you've connected with your customers over time. And people feel like they are part of this business, they are part of this community. Um,
mm,
because when you have a community of people that believe in the business, that support the business, not only are they customers, but they bring in people. So that is actually the sweet spot every business wants to be, where you have people that are not part of the business, that believe in the business. I think for SoFresh, we've evolved over the years to different forms of that. When we started, there was nothing like it. Like I said, nobody was doing what we were doing, and we were just the only ones. We, pioneered the industry, and so it was very easy for us to connect with, customers at the beginning, because when a customer found us, the natural thing was going to bring someone else. And people just kind of felt a sense of ownership. Oh, this is what I've been looking for, and I have it. They're meeting my needs. And we got on Instagram very early, not like today's Instagram that is very noisy. 2013
Very
Instagram,
algorithm driven.
yes, 2013 Instagram, 2015 very sweet. I would say that
Yeah.
was the first place we built our community. So like I said,
Okay.
it wasn't like a select place. It was open, but it was a community, because when we made a post, there was meaningful conversation that was happening. We focused a lot on educating people in the beginning. We were one of the very first few voices talking about healthy eating, the impact it has, and all of that, with a few other voices. We used to host events in some of our outlets, where we just talk about the benefits of eating healthy, bring in experts. So even though we, back early, we didn't really have like a virtual space where we called community, but we had other ways where we engaged, with our customer. We used to have, we used to host fitness events, sponsors fitness events, and I think the most important thing is to find ways to connect with your customers beyond your products and services. Connect with them at a more emotional level. It could be that you are giving them, something educative, something beneficial outside what they're buying for you, or complementing what they're buying for you, and that
Yeah.
helps them to become connected to you. We've also had like virtual spaces on Telegram where we had in community. I think at the height it was maybe like 7,000 or thereabout. We're hosting, fitness challenge, healthy eating challenges and all of that. So yes, I think that it's very beneficial, but it's not just one straight way that you have to have a WhatsApp or an Instagram or something. It's just really about, it could even be newsletters, right? It's really how you connect to them, and
I
how
think
they
it's
and how they see value beyond what they buy and pay for.
Yeah, I think it's finding what works for
Yes,
the kind of customers you have. You
yes.
mentioned hosting fitness events, connecting, educating about healthy eating and all of that.
Mhm.
It works for you because that's your area. So your
Yes,
customers
yes.
will appreciate something like that. So if it's a fashion business, there are other ways that you can physically or virtually connect and build that community. I find myself,
Absolutely. Because
yeah,
a
respond.
lot
Yeah.
of times when people talk about community, what comes to their mind is, I want to put people in a Telegram or a WhatsApp
Yes, I
group.
also have a WhatsApp group.
Yeah, so let me give an example. If you sell hair, or maybe nails, or or clothing, why do I want to be in a WhatsApp group with other people buying clothes from
Buying
you?
news and clothes, exactly.
Yeah.
We don't have
So
nothing in common.
some businesses don't lend themselves to that, but there are ways you can. I think the most important, how can I connect with my audience at a deeper level? I think that's it for me.
That's the lesson right there. How do you connect on a deeper level? Now, of course, healthy living is becoming a bigger movement across Africa.
Yeah.
So, where do you see yourself? Or let me say, where does So Fresh see itself in that continental future? Are you thinking about franchising, maybe a regional expansion, or even new product lines? What are you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where we see So Fresh. So Fresh, the goal is to become the default. Like we say in house, become the prime destination for healthy lifestyle in Africa. So if you think
Yeah.
about healthy food, healthy living, healthy eating, Africa thinks So Fresh for. So the goal is to, yes, expand regionally, and be that default name, in the sector.
Now that would be good. I
Um,
mean,
yeah.
so I currently live in a country where access to fresh fruits and vegetables is like in the snap of a finger, And I always just remember when I was in Lagos, it was a thing. Like you have to go an extra mile, to get something really good. And I see the difference now, but it's still expensive, so to speak. Like the things you can get in, I'm using East Africa as an example now. The kind of and the quality and the quantity and the accessibility compared to some places in Nigeria, because it's not everywhere. Some states in southwest Nigeria you can easily get fruits and stuff, but Lagos sometimes make you feel like it's a luxury. So do you have plans to make this more? I know you've done well with expanding, with mainstreaming the culture, but to the nitty gritty, to the lowest of the low, are you planning to do something like that? Or what do you think?
So yes, it's a journey. I think we've come a long way from when we started. The awareness has grown tremendously. We've There's so many people now. I mean, there's even so many like really small micro businesses.
Yeah.
Even serving some of the crowd you're talking about. So yeah, that's the goal, to be able to reach as many people as possible. The model we operate now lends itself more to people that live like in urban areas, the more middle class to upper strata. But yes, as we grow, the dream is to be able to make this more accessible to as many people as possible. So it will always be part of the journey.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be totally amazing. Now, let's talk about you personally. Your business, you started this business, with your wife, so it's like a family thing.
Mhm.
And I'm curious how that worked, because or how it works currently. There's been so many advice that you see sometimes online, sometimes in books about not starting business with a family member. So what was that like for you, starting this business with your wife and running it together? Um, there are even employees that will tell you that no, they don't want to work in a place where it is husband and wife that is running the business. It's always, an issue. What's the experience been like for you?
I mean, the experience has been fantastic. It's one of the best things that I've done. But as
Yeah.
with anything, right, we have had to also work through some challenges. I mean, working together, understanding each other, blending the two unique roles of, being, couples and being business partners. And we've had to learn through all of that. I think that the some of the things that has helped us is because we were very quite structured at the beginning. So it was very important that everybody had clear roles, clear responsibilities, and expectations, and we actually documented as much as we could. So we all knew why we were doing the business, why we were doing it. When we had points of disagreement on issues, and it was just to go back and ask ourselves, how does this serve the business and all of that? And sometimes you make compromises, and you just move on and learn through it. I think the most important thing is, are you both committed to the same thing? Are you both committed to each other? And with those two things, you just keep walking through some of those. Yeah, I would like, especially when it comes to working with your spouse, it could be quite challenging, because the truth is
Yeah.
that there is no couple that will not have issues of disagreement, and all of that. And when that happens, guess what happens? It
What?
goes back to this is somebody you have to work with in the business the next day. If
Yeah.
both of you are working separately, everybody goes to their workplaces, and then you come back, you can talk about it. But this one now, you have to go back to your workplaces, to the same workplace, and still see each other. The same thing. Something happens in the business that both of you don't agree on. It now impacts your conversation or relationship as husbands and wives. So this is something that you know both of you must have, the humility and the commitment to walk through and learn through and give each other grace. And for us, we've had to walk through some of those, and we've become stronger, better for it. So for me, it's been an amazing journey.
Wow. I'm happy. I'm happy that it's an amazing journey for you and for your family and for the business. So before I let you go, I want to ask, let me say, two questions about being an entrepreneur in Africa. And I think that because we do have a continent-wide audience, and I want them to be able to take something from you as we wrap up the podcast. Question one is, what's one belief about entrepreneurship in Africa that you wish people would let go of? And secondly, what is the mindset shift every African founder must make if they want to build something sustainable? So which one would you answer first?
So what is one belief entrepreneurship in Africa must
let go of?
Let go. I would say that I think that there's a mindset around control. People want to control everything around them. They don't want to, either it's even with their staff or, partnering, with businesses, mergers and working together, partnership. I think I see that a lot, especially in Nigeria. I've not really operated outside of Nigeria a lot, although I've had engagement with some businesses in Ghana and Kenya. I see there is a big mindset around control. Even at the very early stage, I tried to merge with some business that were doing, we're doing the same thing. Why don't let's combine forces? But they didn't pull through. So I think control, because control keeps a lot of businesses small, unstructured over time, and it dies off once the owner, is gone. So I think that's a mindset that needs to change, big time across the continent.
Okay.
What's the second question?
Yeah, the second question is, what's the mindset shift every African founder must make if they want to build something sustainable?
So the opposite.
Let go of control.
Let go of control. Let go of control. Invest a lot in systemizing and structuring, the business, and know that there is just a limit to what only one person can do. And so the more you give people, input, the more you give people, that opportunity to express themselves and contribute, the likelihood that your business will stand the test of time.
That is true. That is so true. I feel like one of the reasons why people, hold on so tightly is maybe to some extent fear. Like, when you feel like this is you, for every founder, maybe not all, but for the most that I've come in contact with who are building something, especially when the business is so young, you feel like it's your baby. So you're so afraid of letting go. What if you let go and something happens? I mean, I've worked with a business owner who was so afraid to take a holiday because he was worried that if he's off for a week or 2 weeks, something is going to happen that would jeopardize everything. But then he did take the holiday because his health was in jeopardy and came back and realized that we had not set the business on fire. So I think it's fear, maybe. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's fair. Sometimes the fears are justified. People have had experiences of, relative who did this, who did that. But again, that's where systems and structure come into play. And sometimes, just, you will have to let go of some control and order. That's just reality. You won't be able to keep all the control and order as you grow and expand, but you will still be, to a reasonable extent, with a proper system and structure in place, still be able to keep, order within the business. But yes, you would lose some level of order and control as the business grows.
Yeah. So finally, if you had to start from zero again, what would you do differently? Or exactly the same? What would you do?
Maybe I won't start.
What? Are you joking?
Uh, well, am I joking? And maybe not. So I've asked myself that question many times. I mean,
Yeah.
um, growing and running, I mean, any kind of business, right? Not talk of this kind of business in this kind of environment could be quite challenging. So yeah, sometimes I have that thought. On a more serious note, what would I do differently? I think that I would um, I would immerse myself in learning about business early on time. So the way I look
Mm,
at it is if you look at, if you tell someone, oh, I want to build a career, if you look at what I'm building career, I'm going to start out in a bank, first year, second year, they say, oh, let me take a course, let me do my account, let me do my this, let me do my that. They're building up their careers. A lot of entrepreneurs don't do that. We just keep learning by experience, keep learning by experience. And it's maybe when you get to the 5, 7, 8 year mark, things are difficult, you now go to business school. Although
mm,
I actually started going to business school after year three, that's 2013. And
yeah.
that's, significantly changed my outlook to business. So I'll say that, I mean, I would learn, faster about business, about the industry, so that I'm better equipped, to scale and grow the business effectively.
Early learning, very, very much recommended. Anyway, thank you so much, Goke Balogun. Are you called Olagoke or Goke? Which one would you prefer?
People call
Which
me
one?
Goke,
People
but
call you Goke.
Olagoke,
Okay.
yes, yes,
All
yes.
right. All right. Thank you so much for making the time, and thank you for building So Fresh.
You've been listening to the Minding Your Business Africa podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and rate us on your streaming platforms. Minding Your Business Africa is produced by AfricaTalks Network. Our executive producers are Fola Folayon and Nelly Kalu. Royalty-free music provided by Melody Loops. Mixing and mastering by Fola Folayon.